welcome to the Formal Review. Today we'll be talking about the 2022 film, Nope. Now sit back, relax, grab your drinks, and let's talk about this film.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Formal Review. This is Season 5, Episode 12, and I thank you all for tuning in once again. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the new Jordan Peele film and how it really compares to his other two, so stay tuned. Now, before I get into anything, I do want to preface this episode with a spoiler warning. I will have a spoiler-free section that gives just a quick overview of the film, but then toward the end of it, there will be a full analysis going into pretty much the entire dissection of the film, which will be very heavy spoilers, but you will be warned before that comes up so that you can either skip ahead to hear the rating of the film, or if you don't care about those types of things, you can keep listening. Also,
I know I talk about this at the end, but the data shows that most people don't listen to that part, so I want to talk about it here and reiterate the importance of leaving reviews on your favorite subscription services. I do read those because I do want to grow, because these episodes are really for all you listeners out there, and I want to keep this entertaining. So what do you want to hear? Do you want to hear games? Do you want to hear more of the 4K stuff? Do you want to hear me talk about a certain movie? If you want to come on and talk to me about something, if you want to debate, I'm always open to do stuff like that, so you can always reach out to me on social media. I always want to grow and improve, and
just because something works doesn't mean that it cannot be improved.
So if there's something that you want me to improve on, let me know, and I will grow as such.
anyway, so let's get back to the film at hand. So sit back, relax, grab your drinks, and let's talk about this film. Nope is a science fiction horror film written, directed, and co-produced by Jordan Peele. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and Steven Yeun as residents of this isolated town who witness a mysterious and abnormal event and attempt to capture video evidence of this unidentified flying object. Now, in short and spoiler-free, this film is Peele's most ambitious film yet, while also being the most simple at the same time. It's a science fiction horror that digs into the nature of the spectacle and the human desire to document it. There's also this sub-theme of how frequently black film history has been pushed out of memory. There are multiple times in the film where film posters are shown that were groundbreaking for casting black actors as the main characters. However, even today, it is still difficult to make a film that stars actors of color, especially black actors. Now, as a whole, this film is bigger in scope, but it doesn't impact as much as his prior two films. Now, Peele does take his time putting the puzzle pieces together for this story. As the film progresses, Peele drops little breadcrumbs here and there. Kaluuya and Palmer play brother and sister in a family horse wrangling business for film productions. Their ranch is visited by a seemingly strange ship in the clouds, and then they try to capture it on film. They want to get the quote-unquote Oprah shot that will give them fame and fortune and thus save their business. They get electric cameras, and Angel Torres, played by Brandon Perea, who is a store tech, helps them get set up. Honestly, with that, this is the best way to go into the film, and that's really not knowing much outside of a general summary. It gives one a completely open mind when thinking about the film. The best part of it is its cinematography by Hoyt van Hoytema. The film is absolutely stunning to see. Now, Peele also used some very good shots that really come from older and iconic horror films and really tied it into his interesting story very well. The acting by Kaluuya and Palmer is amazing. They both knocked their roles out of the park, but Palmer as an actor is one to be reckoned with. Their opposing character qualities work very well off one another, and they develop as the story progresses. Now, 40x wise, this film was a lot of fun for practical effects reasons. The film did not have a lot of movement, but the production of smoke, smells, wind, rain was a lot of fun to experience. While not the best ever, it was still a great time. When it's done right, 40x is the only to really truly feel immersed within a film. When it's raining on screen, it's raining in the cinema. If it's misty on screen during a battle scene, fog is filling the auditorium. And from that perspective, this film nailed it. The biggest flaw with the film, which really isn't that big, is that the theme of the film is pretty obvious. There are a lot of layers to it. However, unlike his prior films, this one's ideas aren't as complicated to notice on the first viewing. The opening of the film is a Bible verse that tells the audience pretty much everything they need to know about the plot. Even so, it is still an intriguing one, and it really keeps pushing you to want to know more of what's going on within it. While not his best work out of the three films, Peele still puts together a great film that ties in mystery and horror aspects very well. Go see it. Alright, so that's the spoiler-free section. So if you listen on, it will be spoiler heavy. And that's your warning. 3, 2, 1. Now, like I already said, the story and theme is fairly simple to understand, which in itself is a bit of a flaw, which I'll go over in a little bit. However, there are many layers to it that really speak to how good of a writer Peele is, no matter how obvious the notion he is trying to show. So I'm going to dissect the film and the message to show this. So the film opens up with a Bible verse. Quote, "I will cast abominable filth onto you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle." This is Nahum 3:6, and another phrasing of this verse from another Bible is, "And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee a gazing stock." Now, no matter which one you're reading, essentially this is thought of dirt or dung or really anything that's abominable and filthy being thrown at harlots that are publicly disgraced. This will make them disregarded with shame and then looked at and laughed at. And this is the message that the film is trying to say. One could even say that Peele knows this may not be his best film, but because of how much praise he's gotten in the past, he's using it to make fun of people going to see his film because of the so-called spectacle. Now, this film becomes very meta really fast, as we are only within a minute of the film. One can already tell what this film is going to be dealing with, which is the human addiction to spectacle and the presentation and monetization of that, similar to King Kong or Jurassic Park. This film itself then falls within that exact notion, as Peele is trying to utilize that commentary for his own benefit and make a film that people can't really turn away from. And this film then progresses to show Edward Muybridge's 1887 photographic study showing a black rider on a horse. As the film states truthfully, is one of the first moving pictures, but while the name of the horse and its owner was recorded, the name of the black jockey is unknown. Now, the film shows Palmer and Kaluuya's characters as being descendants of that unnamed rider. Once again, people are more amazed with the spectacle of the moving image than the rider on the horse. Now, OJ, played by Kaluuya, owns this business where Hollywood rents out their horses for films. Horses at one point in history were considered a high commodity for a film, and they added spectacle to them. However, once again, people cared more about the idea of using a horse and a real horse being there than the safety of the animal or really listening to the safety rules around them. And the reason why OJ is the owner of this business is that 6 months prior, his father, played here by Keith David, has a tragic death when a falling nickel shoots into his brain. The authorities basically say this is a freak accident, but as the film progresses, it's obvious that this was not the case. Anyway, so their ranch is also up road from Jupiter's Claim, and OJ has been selling them horses to the owner, Ricky Jupe Park, played here by Steven Yeun, to keep the ranch from going under. Now, Jupiter's Claim is somewhat this cartoonish amusement park, and the owner, Jupe, is a former child star, and he had a traumatic event as a child that prevented his stardom from happening. Now he spends most of his time chasing that fame any way he can, such as selling access to memorabilia, attracting tourists to his amusement park, or even starring in reality shows with his family, similar to that of another famous family show on Hulu. He even uses the horses from OJ to court the flying saucer to gain fame from its spectacle. And this all comes down to his want to get paying customers to his amusement park. He believes that you're only alive when you're watched, and it's only when people stop watching that you cease to exist. Now, the question is, why does he do this? Well, the first real image that you see on screen is a bloody chimpanzee on this old school TV set next to a dead human being. Now, on first glance, this may seem odd. However, this chimp is Gordy, who is the lead character on Jupe's second major television show called Gordy's House. Now, the film shows that one day during a taping, Gordy was triggered by a popping balloon and went on this rampage, attacking his human co-stars and even killing 2 of them for seeing Jupe, who is hiding under a table and is terrified. But then he realizes that the chimp actually just wants to perform their signature fist bump. And this is a connection that they had before the rampage. However, before they can fist bump, Gordy is killed by first responders. Now, this is why Jupe feels that he can connect the UFO and tame it. However, as many have said in films like this before, and Otis Sr. at the beginning of the film, some creatures just don't want to be domesticated. As such, he's killed off by the UFO, and this is all because he wants to monetize the spectacle. And he isn't the only one. The goals of OJ and Emerald are also this. However, the difference is that OJ has had a lifetime of experience and knowledge. He knows how to train animals and how to avoid antagonizing them. Now, Emerald may not be her brother, but she respects the works that he does. And they both learn from each other as the film progresses, and they learn more to care for one another. However, neither of them is great with technology. Now, when OJ and Emerald's own attempts to catch the UFO on film fail, while, they request help from a famous cinematographer, Antler's host, played here by Michael Winkoff, for help. He then becomes extremely interested in the challenge of taking a picture or video footage of a strange object that is deemed impossible. He ends up building a completely manual camera to get around the UFO's ability to mess up with anything with the battery. As such, he can get picture or footage of the UFO because everyone else is relying on electricity. In the end, he does, however, become so determined to do the impossible that he takes the camera and tries to go into the belly of the beast. Obviously, he and the camera do not make it, and again, someone dies in trying to monetize and gain fame from the spectacle. At the end of the day, we ultimately have Emerald and Angel and potentially OJ surviving the attack. Emerald is able to use a giant Jubei balloon to lure the UFO into a frame, takes a picture, and after the UFO eats the balloon pops and kills the UFO in the process. However, in the end, she sees that she's not alone. News crews were there to cover the mass disappearances at the park. Now, she and OJ have been trying the entire film to get coverage of the UFO and did all the work, but then the news crews come and most likely will steal the show from them. People of color did all the work, but it doesn't matter because someone else can take credit for it. And this looking into the cultural want to really be viral, be the first person to grab the image of the spectacle, and even so much so that they're willing to take credit for being the first person to do that over somebody else, even if they didn't really do the work on it. And this boils down to almost cultural appropriation in a way. And again, as I've said before in other episodes, acknowledging it is not a bad thing. I mean, if one thinks that everything is authentic in your life, then you're just maybe unaware of how many foreign traditions could be present due to cultural appropriation. Do you do yoga? Do you have a tribal tattoo? Society as a whole really does like to enjoy the nice things other cultures have while disregarding the difficult parts of their history. And one of the biggest cultures to have that happen to is black culture. And this goes from music to slang to fashion, but white culture has taken a lot from the black community and used it as a trend. And some say that that's due to an Oscar Wilde quote of, quote, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But most forget the second half of that quote, and that's that quote, that mediocrity can pay to greatness, end quote. So when you put those two things together, it means that copycatters wish they had original ideas. And this continues pretty much to this day, even with black creators on TikTok. And this particularly trend started when Addison Rae appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.